project manager in the construction sector says it's becoming a norm to cooperate and negotiate with the construction mafias. He says budgets must accommodate the 30% fee the construction mafias demand. Gundo Maswime, researcher with the Urban and Public Infrastructure Research Unit at the University of Cape Town, joins us to weigh in further. Gundo, good afternoon, and thank you for your time with us here on the SABC at this hour.
Good afternoon, and thank you to you as well.
All right, so for context's sake, perhaps you could help us understand what construction mafia is, who coined it, and where can it be traced back to?
Yes, when we conceptualized the South African construction sector before 1994, there was a green paper that was written preparing for the new government to transform the construction sector. So the issue was the fact that the sector has got very few large construction companies, which were completely untransformed. So as part of the transformation initiative, it was decided that they're going to open the space by creating smaller construction companies. So that was when the CIDB was then formed, it was then decided that there will be contractor development programs like Vuku Pile in KZN, Gundo Lashu in Limpopo, and so on. So how those worked was that they find people without any construction experience or background whatsoever, put them through some sort of training program and set aside certain budgets, either for a municipality or a provincial department, and they would then engage their services. Unfortunately, because of poor policy coordination, what then happened was that there was a practice note from the Treasury Department, and in that practice note, it was decided that you can no longer do set-asides. I think it was when Minister of Finance was Minister Pravin Gordhan. So most of those programs collapsed, but by that time, a lot of people had left teaching, they've become millionaires in the construction sector, and suddenly they can no longer get the projects. So as a result of that, they will then go and hire thugs to try and get a stake in the pie. But with time, they did not have to approach the thugs. The thugs realized we can go and negotiate by ourselves and get the whole cut for ourselves. And I think that is where the mafios term came in.
All right, Gundo, thank you for that, because the question about how rampant the issue is of construction mafias in South Africa right now comes to the fore, and also the impact it's having on construction and development of the country at large.
There has been various figures that have been thrown around by different organizations. NAFCOC has already punted some figures. There's been various research done, but the exact figure will be very difficult to determine. But safe to say that it should be in billions, at least 60, 70, even more in billions actually, because that disruption, there is standing time that if I'm hired as a contractor to do work for government, and these guys come and they stop me, by contract law, it is the responsibility of the client to create the space for me to work safely. So when I'm not able to work, I'm disrupted for 2-3 days, I have a right to go and do that claim. And that claim for some projects it can be easily be 100,000 rands a day. So I know instances where big construction companies they even have units within the company that just deal with those claiming for standing time. So government ends up paying much more for a project than they would have paid, but not necessarily for work done, but paying for standing time. Because you claim for the salaries of all the workers, you claim for the machines that are on site, the rate at which you would hire them with fuel and so on. So it is a very, very high price to pay for government.
Gundo, questions about mitigating methods against the mafia, construction mafias rather, and corruption that goes with it also has been asked. And I wonder, from your vantage point, what you're observing on that front. Let me even add what companies are doing in South Africa to fight against extortion, even the role of government and its efficacy.
Yes, a lot of companies would go and negotiate with them and say, okay, this is a 10 million rands project. We'll give you 3 million as part of that 30%. But the construction mafia are not interested in the work. Because that 30% was supposed to be 30% of the work that will be done, which will then, of course, translate into money. But one, you cannot determine if I'm building a power station, I cannot give 30% away, because whoever does the 30%, when I go and switch off adding my 70%, that station might not work. So first, the government needs to go down on this policy to determine what type of work can be done by merging contractors with what grading from CIDB on which type of projects. Secondly, the government must rekindle this contractor development programs, but this time take people who have studied civil engineering or any construction-related discipline, because to take somebody who has no background whatsoever does not benefit the program, does not benefit the sector whatsoever. Take people who are already exposed to the industry, who know what is supposed to happen.
Gundo, as I wrap up, I wanted to look at, to counter the threats from the construction mafia. There have been reports that some have even turned to taxi buses for protection. And what are your thoughts on that? But also if we look at what could possibly go wrong on that front, what also emerges?
We do not report enough about people who have been shot and killed by the construction mafia in various projects here in the city of Cape Town. Last year and the year before last, there are sites where which were closed down, and you'll find one environmentalist from the city of Cape Town, a young lady, going to do her work without knowing that the site has been closed. They wait by the gate, and anyone that comes to the gate, they will shoot, and they will. And unfortunately, she lost her life. But this is just one of the so many cases. A lot of senior government officials are now in safe houses because they have got death threats. So I think we underestimate the human cost behind it, because sometimes it's not sufficiently reported. But it's a very difficult issue to use police when on what is a policy issue, because once they have got the buy-in of the community, it's difficult to stop them. But if we work systematically with the communities and with a fair process, the communities are able to protect their projects much, much more than any number of policemen or even the army can do. They are able to protect by themselves. And the work that SABC has done, approaching and trying to get all construction companies registered, that has really gone a long way, and it has helped us.